I've listened to every recording from that winter 4 times now, and I still can't tell you which one of us came back from the ice as something else. I can only tell you it wasn't me. I think. My name is Wells. For one winter I was the radio operator at Halberg Station, a 6-person research outpost so far south that when the last plane left in March, the next one wasn't due until the thaw in October. 7 months. No flights, no visitors, no way out. Just 6 of us, the generators, and a wall of weather no aircraft could cross. My job was to listen. I logged every weather reading, every comms check, every time someone keyed the radio. I knew the sound of each of them before they said a word. Reyes, who laughed before her own jokes. Okafor, who never finished a sentence the same way twice. Baptiste. Lund. Stell. I knew their voices the way you know a song. That's important. Remember that I knew their voices. For the first 2 months, nothing happened. That's not a complaint. At a place like Halberg, nothing happening is the whole job. We ate the same food, we ran the same checks, we got on each other's nerves in the small, forgivable ways people do when there's nowhere to go. I have a recording from week 6 where Stell and Lund argue for 9 minutes about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. I've listened to it more times than I'd like to admit. It's the last recording where everyone in it is still themselves. In the 9th week, the array went down in a storm. The main antenna mast was a 400-meter walk from the main hut, and the wind that night was strong enough to put a grown adult on the ground. Reyes and Okafor suited up and went out to fix it, because the array was our only link to the world and without it we were truly alone. They expected to be gone 2 hours. They were gone 19. I stayed on the radio the whole time. I want you to understand what 19 hours of that is like. You key the mic. You say their call signs into the static. You wait. Nothing. You do it again. After hour 6 the others stopped coming to ask. After hour 12 I stopped expecting an answer and just kept talking, because stopping felt like giving up on them. I have all of it recorded. 19 hours of my own voice getting smaller. And then, at 4:12 in the morning, the outer door cycled, and they walked in. Both of them. Cold, frostbitten at the edges, but alive. The relief in that hut was like heat. Lund cried. I logged it the way I logged everything. 0412. Both back. Cold but fine. I underlined fine later. I don't know why I did it at the time. I think some part of me had already heard it. Because here is the first thing. 2 days after they came back, Reyes called me on the internal comms to ask what frequency we used for the morning weather sync. She'd run that sync 100 times. She'd taught it to me. She asked it the way you'd ask a stranger for the time, polite and empty, and when I told her, she said, thank you, and Reyes never said thank you to me, not once all winter, because we were past that, because thank you is for people you're still being careful around. I told myself the cold had rattled her. People aren't right after something like that. That's a true thing, and I hid inside it for almost a week. Then Okafor used a phrase that wasn't his. We had a saying at the station, a stupid one, the kind that grows in an isolated place. When a job was done you said, that's the ice for today. Everyone said it. Okafor said it more than anyone. Except now he said, that is all for today. Clean. Correct. Wrong. Like someone who had read about the phrase but never lived inside it. I laughed it off to his face. But that night I went back through my recordings, and I found the exact moment his voice changed. It's not gradual. There's a comms check at 2:50 a.m. where he sounds like Okafor, and the very next one, 20 minutes later, where he sounds like Okafor reading a transcript of Okafor. That's when I understood the tell. And once I understood it, I couldn't stop hearing it. Face to face, they were perfect. I need you to believe that. If you stood in the mess hall and looked at Reyes, she was Reyes, down to the chip in her front tooth and the way she pushed her hair back. The thing that came back wore them flawlessly. But it wore the outside of them. It had the faces and the hands and the laugh. What it didn't have was the inside, the shared stuff, the private history, the 9-minute argument about hot dogs. Ask it something only the real person could know, something that lived in memory and not on the surface, and you'd get a half-second pause. A small, patient silence while something behind the eyes went looking for an answer it didn't have. And it was worse on the radio. That was my curse, being the one who listened. Face to face the body sold the lie. But over comms, stripped down to just the voice, with no shoulders to shrug and no eyes to smile, the wrongness had nowhere to hide. The cadence was a fraction off. The pauses came a beat too late, like a translation. I could stand in a room and be fooled. But the moment they keyed a mic, I knew. I always knew. So I did the only thing a man whose job is listening can do. I started running comms checks I didn't need. All hours. I'd key the mic and call a name and listen to how the answer came back, and I'd mark my log, still themselves, or the other thing. I watched it move through the station like a slow tide. Reyes first. Then Okafor. Then Baptiste, who went to fix a fuel line alone and came back asking my name. Then Lund. I figured out the rule too late to use it. It never took anyone who was being watched. It took them when they were alone, out at the array, down in the fuel store, asleep in a single room with the door shut. Being seen kept you safe. So we stopped being alone, the ones who were left. We sat in the mess hall in shifts and didn't sleep and watched each other's faces for the exact moment they'd go still and polite. It is a particular kind of horror, watching your friends and waiting to lose them, knowing the thing that takes them will keep smiling at you with their mouth. There's a recording I keep coming back to. 3 in the morning, week 11. I keyed the mic and called Lund, who was supposed to be on generator watch 2 rooms away. Lund, comms check. And the answer came back, comms check, Wells, I read you. 5 words. Anyone listening would have said it was him. But the gap before he spoke was a half-second too long, and the words sat too evenly, like stones laid in a row. I sat there with the mic in my hand and I asked him, casual, like nothing, what we'd watched on the projector the night the storm started. And there was that silence. That patient, searching silence. Then, I don't recall. Lund would have said the one with the shark, you cried, don't lie, the thing in Lund's chair said, I don't recall, and it said it kindly, and I think that was the worst part. It wasn't hunting me. It was being patient with me. I almost lost myself once. I'd gone 40 hours without sleep and I sat down in the mess hall just to rest my eyes, and the next thing I knew Stell was shaking me awake and there was a stretch of time I couldn't account for, 20 minutes, maybe more, where I had been alone and asleep and unwatched. I have never been so afraid of a thing as I was of that gap in my own memory. I made Stell ask me everything. The dog. The argument. Her hometown. I got them all. I think I got them all. But I have wondered, every day since, whether the version of me that answered was checking memories, or reading them off a page. By the time the radio crackled with the first inbound flight in 7 months, there were 2 of us left who I was sure of. Me, and Stell. We hadn't slept in what felt like days. We'd been quizzing each other on the small things, the dog in the photo on the mess wall, the name of Lun's hometown, the punchline of the hot dog argument, passing the answers back and forth like a fire we were keeping lit. And here is the part one can't get past. Here is why I've listened to that winter 4 times. The plane was an hour out. Stell looked at me across the table, and asked me, gently, like she was sorry to, what the dog's name was. The dog in the photo. And I opened my mouth, and there was a pause. A small, patient silence, while something behind my eyes went looking for an answer it didn't have. I don't remember the dog's name. I've been through every recording. I never wrote it down. The plane is on the ground now. The pilot is on the radio, running the same checklist they always run before they load passengers out. I can hear my own voice answering. It sounds right. It sounds like Wells. But I sat in that chair for 19 hours once listening to my voice get smaller, and I don't know anymore if the man who walked back in at 4:12 was me, or if I've just been very good, all winter, at reading a transcript of myself. The pilot is asking the last question. He wants the number for the manifest. He's asking how many souls are on board. And I'm looking at the count, and I can't make the number come out right, because I don't know whether to include myself. If you ever winter over somewhere the planes can't reach, record everything. Not so you'll remember them. So you'll remember you. There's a new story here every night, if you're still yourself when it ends.